Hey, what's up? My name is Jonathan Fink, and this is my audiobook series. Today, I'm going to read The Republic Baseball League, Volume 1, Chapter 16, The Inaugural Season. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoy this, please give a like, and if you really enjoy it, please subscribe. Thanks so much. After Rachel's presentation, the students realized that they still had a great deal of work ahead of them to accomplish their objective. The format and rules of the league have been codified into a formal, written constitution. A unique and interactive Republic Baseball League computer app had to be developed. Then, the students needed to choose teams and begin their new careers as general managers of professional baseball teams using the Out of the Park Baseball platform. This would include signing contracts with the free agent ball players they wanted on their roster. Despite the amount of work ahead of them, the students were very excited to move forward with this new project, and they were looking ahead to the remaining weeks of the semester. They were also looking forward to competing against their classmates, playing simulated baseball games, each hoping their team would ultimately be crowned champion of the first season of the Republic Baseball League. Rachel and Corey share the responsibility of drafting the Republic Baseball League Constitution. Both went online to read the most recent edition of the official baseball rules, a document almost 200 pages long. They supplemented and revised these existing baseball rules with the principles and rules Rachel previously presented to Professor Dempsey in class. After a few revisions and final edits, they felt that the RBL Constitution was complete. They emailed a PDF copy to Dempsey, who gave it his stamp of approval the next day. At the same time that Rachel and Corey were hard at work on the RBL's governing document, RJ spent the night sitting at his desk in front of his computer in his dorm, developing an app for his iPhone and other mobile phones, iPads, and laptops. Given his experience with software programming, he was able to complete the task doing an all-nighter, taking breaks only for refilling his coffee. The app had all of the usual bells and whistles, such as username, password, communication capabilities, including texting, and a search engine. The app also included a section that permitted users to cast votes, to import, tabulate, and retain team and individual statistical data, and to chronicle activities related to their teams. After some testing, RJ was certain that the app was ready for RBL participants to use. In preparation for his next class, Professor Dempsey wore the St. Louis Cardinals jersey of ex-ball player and Major League manager Tony La Russa. This was a symbolic gesture on his part because La Russa was one of the greatest baseball managers of all time. With almost 3,000 managerial wins under his belt for 3 different teams, he trailed only the legendary Connie Mack for most wins all time. Now, each of Dempsey's students would manage a ball club in the Republic Baseball League, just like Tony La Russa. Coincidentally, Dempsey also knew that La Russa made his major league debut in 1963, playing for the Kansas City Athletics, not far from his boyhood home in Wichita, and a short distance from the UMKC campus where he taught economics. Dempsey chose not to lecture on economics during this class. Instead, he asked the students to report on the progress they had made on the class project. Rachel and Corey reported that the Republic Baseball League Constitution was completed and reviewed. RJ reported that the RBL app was developed and ready to go. Then Dempsey asked what the students planned to do next. Rachel raised her hand and said, "We are way ahead of you, Professor Dempsey. Tonight, all of us are meeting in the food court at 7 p.m. We are bringing our mobile phones and computers so that we can get familiar with the RBL app, then pick our teams and select our players. I expect it to be a marathon session, and you are welcome to join us if you'd like. Dempsey responded, "Thank you for the invitation, but I've got some more PhD thesis research to do this evening, and I'm on a roll. But I'll be there in spirit. Have fun tonight, everyone." Anxious to get started, most of the students in the class were already in the food court when Rachel, Corey, and RJ arrived 10 minutes before 7 p.m. RJ needed only a few minutes to demonstrate the Republic Baseball League app on his phone because every student in the class was already computer savvy and caught on quickly. Then he reviewed the Out of the Park Baseball video game software, and again the students caught on without a hitch. After that, each student, in alphabetical order, picked their independent baseball teams. Rachel chose the Grand Junction Rockies. Corey selected the Chicago Dogs, and RJ decided to become the general manager of the Lincoln Salt Dogs. Then the students began the tasks of selecting baseball players for their team rosters. The 7-hour marathon session finally ended after the last ball player signed his contract. Despite the fact that everyone was pumped up and anxious to start playing simulated baseball games, Corey suggested that they all go back to their dorms, sleep for a few hours, and get ready for classes the next day. That's exactly what they all did. For the weeks remaining in the fall semester, Dempsey students played simulated Republic Baseball League games against their classmates. Ball games were played at various times throughout the day, before class, in between classes, and after classes, often starting as early as 9 a.m. and ending at midnight. Several games could be played and finished in a short period of time because each game was simulated automatically by the Out of the Park Baseball software engine. Each student, fulfilling his or her role as general manager, made all the back office and on-the-field decisions for their team, and looked to be really enjoying their participation in the class project. As part of the process, students initially communicated with each other via text messaging and phone calls to discuss trades. However, after a few days, most of the students agreed to meet up in the food court at night to play games face-to-face, to watch each other's games, and to talk trades. It was a lively, friendly, somewhat noisy environment, and it was attracting interest from other students dining in the food court who were interested in knowing what was going on. Given the level of excitement, Corey decided to set up a Twitch account, a live, interactive, streaming video service owned by a subsidiary of Amazon. This account allowed him to broadcast simulated RBL games as they were being played. Every Friday night, for the rest of the semester, Corey walked around the food court with a GoPro video camera in hand to record all the action taking place around the league. He even posted interviews with team general managers throughout the evening. Corey labeled the account, not surprisingly, the Republic Baseball League. The excitement surrounding the class project was not limited to the food court. A buzz started to grow around campus as well. Corey's Twitch account was gaining dozens of new UMKC followers every day. The buzz extended to friends and family of Dempsey students as well as to students at other colleges. Perhaps with an eye to a future career in sports broadcasting, Corey was inspired to launch a daily video recap show on YouTube entitled RBL Today, similar to ESPN's SportsCenter. He intended to use this platform to dish out box scores of the day's games and to share league news on a daily basis. Corey was able to do this by taking full advantage of another creative and unique feature of the Out of the Park Baseball platform. In addition to reporting simulated game details, accumulating and storing enormous amounts of statistical information, and permitting interactivity between general managers, the video game generated a wide variety of fictional news articles and communications on the fly. With this feature, video game players expected to hear about a slugger pounding 4 home runs in a game or a pitcher tossing a no-hitter. Ball players, managers, and coaches operating inside Out of the Park Baseball were not just about wins and losses, ratings, and stats. They were given personalities. They were just like The Sims. The video game software produced interesting and often unusual personal interest stories about its fictional baseball players. In fact, Corey told one of these stories during his first RBL Today broadcast. He reported the breaking news that Justin Watts, a pitcher on the roster of the Southern Illinois Miners, a ball club selected by another Dempsey student, set off fireworks in its backyard and suffered a freak injury. According to Corey, team officials did not disclose the nature of the injury sustained, but said Watts would be out of action for the next 2 months of the season. Video game reporters speculated on what Watts may have done to upset the baseball gods. The next day, Corey posted another personal interest story that crossed the Republic Baseball League newswire. This narrative did not even involve baseball. It was about music. The headline read, "Mark Wangenstein releases Swing album." According to the press release, when not playing the outfield for the Lexington Legends in Kentucky, Wagenstein can usually be found singing with his swing band in his hometown of Ronkonkoma, New York. When asked about the origins of the band, Wagenstein was quoted saying, "We first got together when we were in high school. Last summer, when we were on stage at a local fair, a music producer saw us playing. He asked if we were interested in signing a contract with him and recording an album. Of course we said yes. While music may not be as steady as baseball, it's definitely a good thing to have as an option after retirement." Wagenstein was not the only RBL ballplayer working on a side gig. In his third RBL Today broadcast, Corey featured Ricky Ramirez Jr., left fielder for the Florence Yalls, another RBL team located in Kentucky. This personal interest story told the tale of Ramirez opening up a CrossFit gym. The outfielder came to spring training in great shape, the best shape of his career. When coaches and teammates asked him about how he did it, he told them that it was the result of dedicated CrossFit training in the off-season. He said that he became so enamored with this style of fitness that he opened his own CrossFit franchise in his hometown of Marysville, California. "I want to pass on my love for this type of fitness training to others," he said. "I'm obviously not going to be able to be there at the facility that often during the season, but I'll stop by whenever I can, and I'll definitely be there all the time in the off-season. Who knows, maybe I'll open up a chain of CrossFit training centers after I retire from baseball." Ramirez clearly had put in the hard work off the field at the gym during the off-season. Now he had the chance to show off its benefits on the baseball diamond. In the next RBL Today broadcast, Corey paid homage to opening day, that special day of the year that signifies the start of every baseball season. Corey made a video selfie and said, "Opening day is a time of joy and optimism for all baseball fans. It's a time for families to bond around America's favorite pastime, to get away from the real world for 3 to 4 hours, to enjoy a few hot dogs, hamburgers, peanuts, and a beer, to holler at the umpires, and to cheer their favorite team to victory." Baseball's call to action, "Play ball," can be heard all across the country just before the first pitch of baseball season is thrown. The Republic Baseball League begins this week in what promises to be an incredible year of baseball. To make sure this video received as much exposure as possible, Corey posted it on both his Twitch and Twitter accounts. These posts received hundreds of likes. Dempsey continued to lecture his students on basic political and economic concepts for the remainder of the semester. However, he made sure to reserve the last few minutes of each class to discuss the status of the class project. He was very pleased with its progress. The students were taking the Republic Baseball League general manager responsibilities seriously. Trades and roster changes were being made, and the rules of the RBL Constitution were being followed. At the end of each class, Rachel, as league president, presented the current league standings. During these last few weeks of the semester, Dempsey was busy doing additional research on his PhD thesis. He had made so much progress that he had made so much progress that he even completed a first draft of his dissertation. He realized, however, that his concentration on this project prevented him from spending as much quality time as he would have liked hanging out with his friends down at the barbershop. So he set aside the next Saturday afternoon to do just that. He drove downtown, picked up a slab of ribs from Arthur Bryant's barbecue joint on his way, and entered the doorway of the back room of the baseball card shop. To his surprise, Mo, Frank, Bobby, and Henry were not playing cards, nor were they talking about Major League Baseball. They were sitting around the bridge table staring at their iPhones, watching Corey Gordon on RBL Today. Dempsey stood in the doorway, holding the tray of barbecue ribs in disbelief. Then he heard Mo say to Frank, "Hey, the first season of the Republic Baseball League is almost over. If Gordon's Chicago Dogs win, I believe you'll owe me $50. Dempsey could not believe what he was witnessing. Then he said, "Hi, fellas, how about some ribs?" They continued to discuss the RBL until the last rib was gone. Given the amount of time they spent together, Rachel, Corey, and RJ were becoming best friends. They were also falling in love with baseball, specifically with the business of baseball. Each had been pursuing different college majors before taking Professor Dempsey's class, but now they discussed taking courses that would prepare them for careers related to the business of baseball. So in preparation for the spring semester, they agreed to register for Statistics 101, an introduction to sports management. The trio also started new traditions. After class, they would regularly travel to the barbershop to study, drink coffee, and talk baseball in the back room with Mo Franklin and his friends. On weekends, when they weren't studying or playing simulated RBL baseball games, they got together as often as possible to attend Kansas City Monarch ball games at Legends Field in Kansas City, Kansas. During the last week of the semester, Corey somehow found the time to launch The Business of Baseball on RBL's YouTube channel. It was a weekly broadcast that covered all things financial and business related in the league. In the initial episode, he summarized the RBL season to date, noting that RJ's Lincoln Salt Dogs, currently in first place, were likely to be the winners of the league's first season. As to the business of baseball, he emphasized that each team in the league except one was successful. Every organization, other than the Monterey Amberjacks, earned a profit in their first year in business. Clearly, Dempsey's students, acting as general managers, were running their ball clubs very efficiently. For the next to last class of the fall semester, Dempsey asked his students to wear baseball jerseys again. They all complied. Having given it thought the night before, he wore his Lou Gehrig jersey again, in memory of his grandfather. Standing behind his desk, he called Rachel to the front of the lecture hall and asked her to report on the status of the class project. Without hesitation, she said what everyone already knew. The first season of the Republic Baseball League was indeed a big success. RJ's Lincoln Salt Dogs did retain the lead and emerged as the league champions with a record of 105 wins and only 57 losses. Rachel turned to face her professor and said, "Most importantly, all of us have learned a great deal about politics and economics in your class, Professor Dempsey, and because of you, we had fun doing it. Thank you so much." An emotional Dempsey walked over to the podium and responded, "Thank you very much, Rachel, for those kind words." He turned to the class and continued, "And thank you all for making this such a great semester for me. I hope you know a lot more about the political economy now than you did before you registered for this class. And I'd like to congratulate you all on successfully completing the class project. Your final grades will certainly reflect the great work you all did." Then, Dempsey invited RJ to come up to the front of the class to receive the Republic Baseball League Championship trophy that the professor had purchased from the barber shop. Dempsey said, "Congratulations, RJ. Your Lincoln Salt Dogs are the first champions of the Republic Baseball League." RJ hosted the trophy over his head as his fellow classmates cheered and gave him a standing ovation. To wrap up the semester, Dempsey handed each of his students a take-home exam, the final exam, due on or before the last class of the semester. As a final gesture to celebrate the completion of their first season in the Republic Baseball League, the students threw a baseball-themed party in the food court. Everyone had a great time, especially Dempsey, a very proud economics professor who was designated by the students as the guest of honor. That was the end of chapter 16. Up next, chapter 17, the thesis. Thank you so much for joining me, guys, today. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys take care. And as always, God bless.
This month, we have some great sports card stories from across the U.S. and talk to an author from nearby Leawood, Kansas, who has written a book about returning to collecting after 3 decades away.
My day job is I'm a financial advisor, so I've been investing for over 20 years. And a way to express my love for the hobby, I decided, what if I write an investment book, Sports Card Collectors Club, and treat the stock market the same way I would treat the card market. And so I thought, well, how would a day trader invest in cards? How would a venture capitalist buy and sell cards? How would a hedge fund do it? As I would go through my trials and tribulations, I realized that for as much fun as I was having investing, there was something missing. And one day I was watching the Royals game on television, and it was a rain delay. And the Card Live television show came on. I was watching that episode, I was watching Matt Strom open cards and rip packs, and I started getting the warm, fuzzy feeling. I said, this is what I want to be doing. I want to get back to really collecting and ripping cards and building sets. And that's where the story of my book has changed. I go from investing back to collecting.
I'll also open a variety of boxes from different sports. So he hit the home run off me in like the 7th inning. And then in the 8th inning, JT hit a double, so he's standing on second. And Mason Wynn asked him, he's like, hey JT, he's like, I heard Strom collects cards of guys that take him deep. He's like, does that mean he's gonna send me over a couple cards to sign tomorrow? And after the game, we had won. I mean, winning is the only thing that's important to me. So it's like, I was good after the game, whatever, and JT comes up to me and he's like, hey Stromy, he was really genuine. Like he wasn't taking shots. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, when I got to second, Mason asked if you're gonna send a card over for him.
I'm just looking around my basement here, just walls covered with concert posters and toys, and just like, I have no intention of selling these things. I collect because I want to show off the things I love and do it in fun ways. And it just never crossed my mind that, hey, I'm going to go buy this thing just so I can resell it. Like that to me isn't a pure collector mentality. And obviously things change and times change. And, in order for things to survive right now, you have to have that sort of chase for something valuable.
Yeah, it needs to be a circus. You know what? The truth is, I actually watched the live stream on eBay Live with Ken Golden and Logan Paul. They ripped a box of 86 Flair and a box of Series 1 Pokemon. And you know what? It was very entertaining. They're both polarizing characters. I thought it was entertaining. But you know what? After every pull, they immediately are showing the value. And and it begs the question, are we creating, not we, is the industry creating a gambling culture which has a real downside?
It already has. Right. Not created. It's here.
Yeah, and
that's
a concern. I guess for me, I hope to be an influence where we focus more on collecting, because you know what, when markets crash, collectors don't get hurt at all. Because the Sandy Koufax you bought that because it makes you feel good. It brings back good memories.
Said this one traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight.
You have created community, so let's talk about that. I went to Rip Night at your shop. Let's rip it on the pack. And I went to your Rip Night 2 years ago, and it was one of the best. I wrote about it in volume 1. It was one of the best times I've ever had. You guys had this giant scoreboard where you had the chase cards, and everyone can buy whatever product you wanted, like buy 3, get 1 free, whatever product, whatever it was. You then, if you pull a Bronny James, you then get another blaster. Or I pulled a Reed Shepherd auto, and then I got a free T-shirt. And I sat around the table with strangers and had the best time ever. So let's talk about how important community is. And what you guys do is provide an anchor for community in our town. How important that is.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, one of our taglines, we say we'll make an offer on anything, but like you said, we got to pay what it's worth. And so if it's junk wax, it's going to be junk wax prices, which unfortunately, a lot of people end up thinking that their 87 Topps Barry Bonds is going to be a couple $100 or
it's worth nothing, people.
notoriety. And so when you're pitching these stories to these athletes, like I've reached out to a couple of different athletes about writing a potential article about their collections and having them kind of share their story. And it's like, yes, like I write for collectibles on SI, which is under the Sports Illustrated umbrella. It does carry weight. Like it does, people recognize that brand. It is important. And so I'm super grateful that I've been given the opportunity to write for that staff.
The top segment that was done by you on you was so well produced, right? Did all that come from the conversation you had with Michael Rubin? Is that how that put you on the map to such an extent that all those opportunities happened? How did that happen? Did you get a call one day?
Said this one traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight with a pack in hand and a story that bites.
I didn't even collect when I was 3 years old, like when this card came out, but you just pulled a good one. Roman Anthony, from Dempsey. I love Wichita State.
Yeah.
I would have been thrilled if he went to Tulane, but his parents have roots in Nebraska. So for him, it was coming home. And so Nebraska got a good one. And so I'm not surprised
awesome.
that program's on the rise because they got a great stadium. They have great resources. They got a great fan base of people like you. And their recruiting is fantastic. They're finding the talented kids. So
Yeah,
watch
in
out
fact,
for the Big Ten.
So yeah, Will Bolt, the head coach, he actually played at Nebraska when I was traveling with the Nebraska team in the late '90s. He was down at Texas A&M when I worked at Texas A&M. Rob Childress is the pitching coach, and I was on the hiring committee that hired him away from Nebraska to come down at Texas A&M, and they're thrilled that he's back here in Nebraska. He's a genius. The number of players in pro ball right now that went through Rob Childress, so he'll be under good guidance when he gets up here to Nebraska. They're good people.
One kid found a mantle in the rain. One old friend came back with the same old chain.
Talk to me about the reaction of the players, the other players, when they see this bat putter. Are they flipping out? They freak out when they see it?
And they see it and they're like, they just stop. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
So the reason why I asked that question is because I had that experience literally yesterday. So when I first got the bat putter, I think I bought it 6 months ago, and it's customized for the Republic Baseball League, which is so cool. And now that I realize, now that I love it so much, and I got to use it yesterday, I'm like, I got to start buying them for different people. Like anyone's a guest on my show, they're gonna get a bat putter, okay? Yeah. But the point is, I had never used it because I thought it was too sacred to me. I keep it in my office like a sacred shrine. It means so much to me. But then I was like, after watching all these videos and stuff like that, I'm like, you know what? There's this indoor amazing place in Kansas City called Tap-Ins. Okay, they have an outdoor putt, but also indoor. And depending on the weather, the whole thing, it's an amazing atrium, and it's become a successful business. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's a perfect. It was a hot day. I'm like, it's a perfect thing to do. So my buddy Paul Greenwood, who I featured in my first book, we went and played around. And when I showed up with this bat putter, people were freaking out. They were literally losing their minds, and that's when I realized. So then, and then by the way, it was a Sunday, middle of the day, hot as heck. I want to see how it gets made, but you probably do actually.
I want to see if there's quality control testers there.
But attention! If anyone in the tops is watching, Grip and Rep we want to get invited to a tour at a factory. The two of us.
I told them I would work for free.
Right.
I would work absolutely free. I want to see how their stuff's made.
Yeah, I'm curious. But like correlation is like I'm sure there's a bunch of engineers that sit around and design.
Got some breaking news for you.
Yeah.
Slab just texted me.
No way. What do you say? The numbers
Looks like this is the first year to hear it. Who is that?
Right.
Let me see here.
Breaking news. Grip and Rep. Breaking news.
Oh, U.S. agent. Okay, so I just got told that the finest mega boxes are going to be really, really, really good.
Oh, interesting.
1.6 numbered cards a box. So you're guaranteed one numbered card with a 60% chance to pull a second numbered card.
Wow,
and
interesting.
Autos are 1 in 3.
Whoa. So do you think that Topps decided to go big because this is their first year with Topps Finest in retail?
I'm going to say yes. Yes.
Right? Because
I do think so.
You usually get so upset with the delayed numbers, they're delaying them. Or maybe, by the way, I don't know if it's a conspiracy that the odds are coming out later. I just feel that maybe they're just not as efficient as they used to be.
You might have watched this game back
I'm
when.
sure I did.
Currently,
Derek Coleman. Yeah, he was on my fantasy team for sure.
Pretty crazy to think, in the future you would be able to collect that moment that you watched.
Right. And by the way, check that out. It's worth $198 versus the ones that are worth 35 cents because it makes sense. Because the same way that you value your 1964 Willie Mays card, you're going to value your Drazen Petrovic, and you're not going to want to give it up unless it's for a very, very good price because you love that memory. And what's wild is the same way that you get the warm, fuzzy feeling with dopamine hit, whatever, when you look at a card on your shelf, it's the same thing. But when you're online at the bank, you don't have your cards with you, Paulie, but you do have your phone, and you can pull up your Drazen Petrovic and pay respect to him and watch a couple of his awesome plays that give you the warm fuzzies because you can. It's wild. And so